Welcome to the Time to Talk podcast. It is time to talk ABC News. Let's talk ABC News, Legacy Media, and the Rescue the Republic event, which took place last month, actually 2 months ago now. We're in November, September 29th. The end of September, there was an event called Rescue the Republic, which was basically organized by Brett Weinstein and a few other folks, right? And this is one of the posters, one of the ads, the promos for the Rescue the Republic. And Rescue the Republic was basically a group of individuals, intellectuals, and alternative media personalities and more that were there. So Russell Brand, Matt Taibbi, Walter Kern, Jordan Peterson was there. Again, Brett Weinstein, one of the organizers. Mike Benz was there. I don't think he spoke, but I did get to meet Mike Benz. Also, there were Tulsi Gabbard was there, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there. So these are big names, right, who were now on the Trump team. Now, here's the deal. When this got announced, I was excited to go because this was basically promoted as this event where people were looking to get together to basically protest the idea that free speech is under attack in America, specifically by the Democrats, right? We saw that in previous elections where, the Hunter Biden laptop was suppressed and all these different things that have taken place. I don't need to, maybe I will remind you, but, Zuckerberg came out recently and pretty much admitted that they were under pressure with the government in order to suppress information from circulating, and they are suppressing and censoring people. And this has happened globally, but more importantly, about here at home in the United States, U.S. citizens under threat of jail time, all sorts of things happening, and how they are influencing and affecting elections and doing different things, and the freedom, your First Amendment rights being thrown out. So Rescue the Republic was basically protest or a gathering of like-minded individuals to stand up in Washington, right by the Washington Monument, to stand up and say that this is not right, and we need to bring back true our country to its true fundamentals, right? Also, the forever wars that continue to go on and this ridiculous, like military industrial complex, right? We were talking about that. There's a bunch of tenets within this. I believe there's a total of 8. And this was to be this event. So I signed on to go. Now, I asked for media credentials. And it wasn't really because of this podcast. I believe I had just started this podcast, but it was more because I'm a professional photographer. So I figured, if I'm going to go, I might as well get some media credentials if they'll give them to me. I didn't think they would. I wound up getting them. And then I also sent an email regarding the diversity that was going to be at this particular event. Because again, if you look at this, right, you got this boat sort of reenacting, I guess that's supposed to be Trump is supposed to be Washington or a general there, and there's Russell Brand behind him and Elon Musk holding the flag, and you see Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Brett Weinstein. You see all these white men and women on here, and I believe, there might have been 2 brothers there. There's a guy named Zuby and someone else, but they're like in the back of the boat somewhere with the regular people. Matt Taibbi is over here. It just struck me as, hey, if we're going to rescue the Republic and we're going to have these like-minded people come together, and this is a nonpartisan, non-political type of thing, we need some color in that, right? And I'm not someone who actively engages in trying to find the racism in everything or trying to suggest that everything has an agenda, right? I don't believe in that, right? But at the same point, certain things stand out to me, and I thought that this coalition of people should be more diverse. So I sent an email wondering how this whole thing goes as far as people speaking, and do you need to be a celebrity to speak, or can I speak? I have things to say, and I support this whole movement. So they wound up being very cool with me and sending me something back, and then they were going to try to make time and see what the roster looked like, and then on top of that, they connected me with ABC News. All right, this is where the whole story really starts. So stick with me, okay? Subscribe in the meantime. ABC News gets a hold of me. They send me an email. They want to do a thing with me because I'm going to Rescue the Republic, and they want to have a diversified voice, and they want to have that whole diversity thing that I guess the Rescue the Republic people that I was corresponding with through email about the media, apparently they must have said, hey, there's this brother who is making a pretty good case for the fact that maybe we should, whatever. So ABC reached out to me. So I was in touch with ABC for weeks, probably a month before this whole thing went down. And they were going to do this, they were going to do that. I took my son with me, my 17-year-old son, Maximus, took the drive with me to D.C. Okay, the preparation for this, the day or so before, the producer that I was in contact with continued to stay in touch with me. And it was a really, very professional and very well done. And while I was actually headed down there, I was actually thinking, and I expressed these concerns to a friend of mine that, hey man, it's ABC. I'm not sure, like, what do they want to do, and what are they going to talk to me about, and why are they covering this event? Because I'm pretty sure Legacy Media is not going to be covering this event. And sure enough, Legacy Media did not cover this event, which we'll get to that shortly. But I was having my reservations about doing this in the first place because I was like, it's ABC, it's Legacy Media. They're not going to cover this with a real take on what's happening here when it comes to freedom of speech and suppression and the narratives being put forth by the deep state, right? When they're part of that, right? And the debate had already taken place between Trump and Harris, where it was clear that David Muir was fact-checking Trump, but not fact-checking Harris. So it was obvious ABC's in the pocket for Harris and the Democrats, right? So I was kind of like concerned, being someone who's very anti-Legacy Media, like, well, wow, I'm going to be talking to ABC. So I was a little whatever. My friend told me, oh, it'd be great. Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be great for the podcast. And you could talk. I was like, okay, I'm not really in it for that. But who knows? If it works out, it works out. Here we go. I get down there. The morning that I'm driving down there, the producer is getting a hold of me. Are you almost here? What's your ETA? Hey, looking forward to it. Let me know when you're close to the garage that you're parking in so I can meet you there. We can get some footage of you. Producer meets me at the garage. Meets myself, introduce my son. We get out. We park the car. We get out. We had to walk from where the garage was, probably about 25-minute walk, 25 minute, to get to the location where Rescue the Public, where that was being held. She's doing footage of me. She's filming. We get to the main spot. I get my media credentials. I wind up getting introduced to her team. There's probably like 6-7 people there. Devin Dwyer is the reporter, the guy doing the actual report with me. Talk a little bit. My son and I walk around. We were in the press tent. We kind of hung out for a little bit, trying to see who we can, get a hold of and do whatever. That's where I met Mike Benz. Shout out to Mike Benz. Cyber Benz on X. So at some point, the producer got a hold of me. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this thing now. We're gonna do your interview. So I start talking. They had to do B-roll shots, right? So they had to do all these different shots of myself and my son walking, coming up this walkway, and towards the monument, and with the crowd in the background and the stage, and Devin Dwyer and I meeting and shaking hands, and then a couple different B-roll angles. This is standard stuff for news production. And then I stand and I do an interview with this guy, and it probably was like 20 minutes worth of conversation where I discussed things. Now, I didn't discuss things from the perspective of a Democrat or a Trump supporter. I'm not supporting either one of them. And I made it clear what my issue was in terms of where the country is and how divided we are and what's happening with censorship and what's happening with certain things, and why this event was particularly important to me, and why I decided to come down here, why I decided to bring my son with me. I'm having this whole conversation with this guy. Now, when it was finished, they got more B-roll and more shots and did whatever to cover themselves, and that was it. I spent the rest of the day there with my son, and all's fine and all's well and all is done with ABC. Now, get back home, and I guess maybe a few days later, producer in contact with me about when this was going to air. Specifically, it was supposed to air Halloween, October 31st. It's going to be on ABC Live streaming or something. I was like, okay, well, just send me the links or whatever it is. I'll check it out. So she was supposed to send me things. All this time has passed. The day of, I wind up reaching out about, oh yeah, I almost forgot, right? It was Halloween and the kids are doing whatever. And so I'm like running around. I wasn't really thinking about it. And I was watching Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I wound up getting the text back saying, oh, it should be airing like 7:30-ish. I was like, oh shoot, I better put this on. Where do I find it? You can find it on Disney Plus or Hulu. ABC News, I think it's called ABC News Live with, Lindsay Davis, which is another thing. While I was down there talking to Devin Dwyer, I asked, I thought this was going to be like a local news thing. I wasn't expecting this to be national. I was like, oh, this is probably just like some little local thing because they're covering this event here. No, it's going to be national. Anyway, ABC News Live, Lindsay Davis. I put that on, and Trump is speaking in Nevada. And then Harris is speaking in Nevada as well, but she's coming on next. So they're covering. So I sent a text saying, hey, this is this going to prevent, they're going to delay the airing of this? Producer's trying to find out with the control room, like whether it's going to air next, whatever. So long story short, the last message was they were going to probably air it tomorrow. I went to bed. Then I get a text from her. Oh, it's airing now. I said, okay. So from the bedroom, I put on that television and told my wife. I said, oh, let me turn this on. I put it on. We put it on, and it comes on. And it's a story about, hear this. It's a story about Republicans who are fearing election fraud and who are looking to monitor because of the possibilities of fraudulent voting and all sorts of disruptions within the voting process come November 5th. And how they are staying vigilant when it comes to essentially again, monitoring this whole thing. So it had nothing to do with Rescue the Republic. It had nothing to do with this event that was being held that was, blah, 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 whatever. Then the story goes, it gets to me. I think I say two things, and it might be 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of worth of what I said, and that's it. Done. Over. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, what is this narcissism? What is this? Is this just you angry that you didn't get screen time? No, it has nothing to do with it. Honestly, it's nothing to do with it. It's more about trying to figure out what the purpose was of creating this whole, agenda. In other words, meeting me at the garage. Like, they did other interviews with people that were there in the crowd at Rescue the Republic. I saw them doing them, and then they're in this actual video when you see it. There are people standing, and they just got quick sound bites from people like, oh, hey, blah, 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 whatever. And they asked them a couple of questions. But what was the purpose of going through having me and my son and getting all the video footage and the B-roll and talking to me for 20 minutes or whatever, like 15, 20 minutes? Like, what was the purpose of all that, right? I wasn't expecting a starring thing, but it just didn't make any sense to me. On top of, I think what really, really irked me the most was that ABC News, of course, spun this whole thing. It had nothing to do with it. They didn't even mention, I think they might have said the words Rescue the Republic once, but they didn't really talk about the event. They didn't say a single word about the people that were there. Now, I personally, my take on the actual event itself was that it was fine. It seemed like mostly a Trump supporters that were there, probably 98% of the crowd, right? And even the people that were on stage, obviously, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has joined, and Tulsi Gabbard has joined, or Tulsi Gabbard, as Russell Brand likes to say, right? Gabbard. She was there, but people that were speaking were pro-Trump, and the people in the audience were wearing MAGA hats, and they were pro-Trump, a lot of Republicans. Now, that's not me. Right. And Matt Taibbi also made the point of saying, hey, look, we're here. We're not all following the same exact ideologies. We don't all fall in the same line of politically speaking, but we come together in the unity regarding freedom of speech and certain things that we all believe in. And that was a good thing. Now, the way they framed this, ABC, was that these are a bunch of disgruntled, angry Republicans who were thinking that the election's going to be rigged and there's going to be problems, so they're paying attention to the polls and they're preparing for the worst. That's what they reported on. So I say all this not as a disgruntled person who felt I should have had much more airtime with ABC's Devin Dwyer in D.C. No, I say that this is just another example of legacy media, and I kind of knew this ahead of time, spinning and doing nonsense. It's really interesting because none of the legacy media covered this, and the ones who did, journalists who covered it, if you look at the Washington Times or whatever, and the New York Times, they covered it. They called the people a coalition of crazies, or they basically suggested that all the people that were there that attended it, the people who spoke and organized it, were fringe outsiders and has-beens and canceled people and lunatics, Russell Brand, Matt Taibbi, Jordan Peterson, all the people. I'm these are highly respected journalists. Well, Taibbi, Russell Brand, really? This is the spin? They totally shut the whole thing down. If you look up any of the media that was done on this, that's what you get. Anyway, that's it. Time to Talk podcast. I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought it was interesting. I'll try to run some of the video. You can see some of that. And comment below if you went to the Rescue the Republic. What did you think about that? And let me know what you think about freedom of speech and all that good stuff. We got an election coming up in a few days. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be mad. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I truly appreciate that. And hit the notification bell on the way out so that you know when I put up new content, and we can keep this machine going. We're going to get to a few million followers. Let's make it happen sooner than later. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you on the next Time to Talk podcast. Peace.